So what do we have in the future of American democracy? Well, if Donald Trump stays in power and if his base stays a big fan of him, it might be a far more powerful presidency, at least if they get their way. Because support for an unencumbered president, a president who faces decreasing checks from either the Congress or the Supreme Court, that is the direction they are looking to take us in. Let's take a look at a chart. It's complex, there's a lot of bars. Just bear with me. The left for, that's last year. The right for, that's just a month ago. And what you see there is for each of the four sort of ideological breakdowns, what's your support on the top for a president who has expanded powers? So he's not constrained by Congress or the courts. And you see there, I want to take your vision to the darker red one on the top. You can see that moving from 26% approval to 52% approval in just a year, conservative Republicans are shooting up there and thinking that the president might need a little bit more independence. And we don't want to hear so much from that pesky Senate, House of Representatives, or Supreme Court. But again, that's a lot of facts, there's a lot of numbers. So let's break this down. For conservative Republicans, that's at 52% agreeal. That's doubled since last year, 26%, which itself is a double from when President Barack Obama in 2016, when he was last president, from 13%. So over the course of just a couple of years, 3 years, you've gone from 13 to 26 to 52. I got news for you, we can't even double again because there's not enough people to merit it. And so what that represents is a shocking change. I don't know that I've ever seen agreement to a polling question shoot up the way this one has. And what it represents is that Trump supporters, these are like hardcore right-wingers, who have their entire lives been incredibly suspicious of the federal government, government power, being tread upon, all of that. So much so that some of them go and join militias and stuff like that. They talk about independence movements and we gotta have our guns in case the government gets too powerful. When it's Trump, then suddenly, just let him do what he wants to do. Why are we hearing this stuff about the Congress? So the courts are gonna question what Trump says? We don't have a president, we should have a king. And it's interesting that Donald Trump accidentally referred to the reign of the presidency in a tweet just a couple of days ago. President doesn't reign, a king reigns, but that may be the direction we're headed in. What's interesting too is, I guess, devil's advocate, like a knee-jerk thing for me would be to assume this is probably what we see all the time. When the Democrat takes over the presidency, then you probably have a lot of Democrats thinking that the president should be unencumbered by these checks and balances. And that's interesting, there is actually a partisan effect if you look back a number of years, but it does not explain what we're seeing right now. If you were to look at the fall, so we just showed you the rise of Republicans. If you look at the fall from Democrats who, in theory, because Donald Trump is president, they should want more checks and balances, you'll see that they are more in favor of checks and balances. It's gone from 29% to 16%. So that's the movement in the direction of wanting more involvement of the other branches of government. But that is nowhere near the change that we've seen on the other side. And that is dangerous. That's dangerous not just when you take this poll by itself, but in the context of what we've seen, the rhetoric we've seen from Republican politicians, and certainly from these nationalist movements, not just in the United States, but around the globe, where they are increasingly distrustful of democracy, increasingly willing to take away the actual day-to-day involvement of regular people in democracy. Here in the US, to give you a few examples, you not only have people saying that we need something like voter ID, perhaps poll taxes and poll tests and things like that. You not only have people who want to shut down as many polling places as possible, you also have a movement to end the direct election of senators, which seems insane. Most people probably just think that that's always the way it's been here in the US, but of course, if you're a student of American history, it's not. At one point they were chosen, now they're elected. They want to get rid of that too. Like, we're talking about possibly amending the Electoral College to give the people more of a say in the presidency. No, we're not just not going to be able to move forward, they want to take us back decades and decades. And here's the thing, they want Donald Trump to give them what he has promised. They're willing to jettison not only the Democrats in Congress and the libs on the Supreme Court, but also the Republicans in Congress. I mean, they have a majority of the Senate, but even then, they don't want the involvement of that. These are the Republican senators that they've elected around the country. Get rid of them. The fact that we have a conservative majority of the Supreme Court, that's not good enough. They don't want the court, even though Trump has had an outsized influence on it already. Even that doesn't give them any remaining respect for the Supreme Court. And this is something that I think that we as a country need to deal with. I know that we've got a million emergencies that we're dealing with at any given time, but the idea that this movement, which has prided itself as its core in being suspicious of concentrated power, that those concerns are fading away in just a couple of short years at a rate that, like I said, I've never seen before. That should be extremely worrisome. I know that political scientists are talking about this, they're researching this and all of that, but it's on us as citizens. If we want to have a democracy, if we want to make our democracy not just in name, but in effect in the future, we have to watch out for this. We have to persuade some of these people that moving this direction is a very dangerous direction for our country. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.